Before Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes took centre stage in the WWE, the spotlight belonged to legends like John Cena, Edge, Batista and The Undertaker. Today, we're rewinding all the way back to WWE in 2009. If you do enjoy this video, then please don't forget to like and of course subscribe. Raw kicks off week 1 with the United States champion Kofi Kingston in action. Kofi is deep into a feud with The Miz over the US title, but tonight he faces the veteran Chavo Guerrero. Kofi has a challenge facing Chavo, but ultimately he shows why he is the US champion, hitting Chavo with an SOS for the 3 count. After celebrating his victory in this non-title match, Kofi is blindsided by The Miz, who attacks him from behind. To rub salt in Kofi's wounds, The Miz uses Kingston's own US title belt as a weapon, striking him square in the face and sending a message to the champion. Next, Divas champion Mickie James faces the legendary Gail Kim. The champ managed to defeat Gail after a back and forth match, but after the match she is confronted by Maryse, who tells Mickie to enjoy her reign while it lasts, as she intends to claim the Divas title at SummerSlam. Mickie coolly replies that Maryse will have to back up her words in the ring in the number 1 contenders triple threat match next week. Meanwhile, backstage with Legacy members Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase, the two discuss their strategy for tonight's match against D-Generation X, promising to end the careers of Triple H and Shawn Michaels. When Randy Orton walks by, Cody and Ted ask him about his plan for the Batista vs John Cena number 1 contenders match later tonight. Orton advises them to focus on taking care of DX and just getting the job done. The tag team clash kicks off with HBK and Triple H rushing to the ring to face off with Rhodes and DiBiase in an all-out brawl. The brawl begins to simmer down as the referee manages to gain some control. The younger Legacy duo gains early ground with their speed and agility, but HBK and Triple H's experience soon prevails. As the match goes on, HBK lands his signature sweet chin music, securing victory for D-Generation X. Before the main event, Batista and John Cena have a tense but respectful exchange backstage. Both are determined to win and secure a SummerSlam title shot, with neither willing to hold back. The crowd erupts as fan favourite John Cena makes his entrance, eyeing his path to SummerSlam. But Batista, fueled by a vendetta against Legacy and his desire for the WWE Championship, stands in his way. Cena starts off strong with a snake eyes and a power slam, but Batista quickly responds with powerful offense of his own. Cena ramps up with a diving fist drop off the top rope and seems poised for victory after landing the FU, but Batista refuses to stay down. Batista retaliates with a series of devastating clotheslines, only for Cena to answer back with a sidewalk slam and a belly-to-belly suplex. Just as Batista counters with a spinebuster, readying himself for the Batista bomb, Randy Orton interferes, attacking both men and causing the match to be called off. With no clear number 1 contender, Raw ends on a cliffhanger, leaving the question open as to who will challenge Randy Orton at SummerSlam. As ECW kicks off the next night, the show opens with an intense brawl between ECW veteran Tommy Dreamer and the fierce Irish newcomer Sheamus. Sheamus dominates early, using a series of powerful moves to wear down Dreamer, even throwing him over the top rope and delivering a gutbuster at ringside. Back in the ring, Dreamer manages to counter with a suplex variation, regaining some momentum. He follows up with a gut punch and a neck breaker, setting up for the Dreamer driver, but Sheamus escapes, delivering a brutal Irish curse backbreaker and a brogue kick to secure the victory. Before the main event, Captain Charisma Christian is approached backstage by Shelton Benjamin. The Gold Standard warns that whether it's Christian or William Regal holding the ECW Championship, the Gold Standard is destined to be champion soon. Christian welcomes a challenge but tells Shelton that he's focused on Regal tonight, as a win in this non-title match will make him the number 1 contender. The main event begins, pitting ECW champion William Regal against Christian. Christian manages to score a victory against the champion and goes on to celebrate his unexpected win, but the celebration is short-lived. Regal attacks him from behind and delivers a merciless series of chair shots, leaving the new number 1 contender battered as ECW fades to black. Friday Night SmackDown kicks off with the Intercontinental Champion Rey Mysterio taking on Dolph Ziggler in a non-title match. Dolph starts strong, landing a DDT to the champion, followed by a cocky elbow drop. Mysterio, ever the high flyer, catches Dolph off guard with a creative series of moves, landing a second springboard splash for a 1 count. He follows up with a spectacular springboard moonsault, and after a thrilling exchange of reversals, nails a dropkick to Ziggler's shin. Rey seals his win with a crowd-pleasing 619 and a final splash. As he celebrates, number one contender Drew McIntyre steps into the ring, making his intentions for the Intercontinental Championship clear with a silent and intense stare. Backstage, women's champion Michelle McCool and her challenger Melina confront one another, but it quickly escalates into a brawl, ending with the women's champion standing tall. Next up is the rated R superstar Edge, who despite being hunted by The Undertaker, looks unfazed as he heads into his match with Matt Hardy. After a back and forth match, Edge ends the match with a spear, but just as he turns to celebrate his victory, the lights would go out. The Phenom himself, The Undertaker, would appear. The dead man gets his hands on the rated R superstar, chokeslamming him to the mat. In the main event, Chris Jericho faces Jeff Hardy, who was the number one contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. And speaking of the World Heavyweight Champion, CM Punk joins ringside to watch the match. Punk and Jeff are in the midst of an intense rivalry that will culminate at SummerSlam for the title. Jeff starts off strong, delivering a flurry of strikes to Jericho, but Y2J counters with stomps and a Northern Lights suplex. Jeff, undeterred, responds with a classic Jeff Hardy move and dives to the outside. Back in the ring, Jericho locks in the walls of Jericho after a drop down, but Hardy manages to endure. As they trade blows in the final moments, Hardy begins to gain momentum, only to be blindsided by the World Heavyweight Champion CM Punk, who levels him with a clothesline. Punk closes out the show with a GTS to Hardy, sending a message to the challenger ahead of their eventual showdown at SummerSlam. Week 2 begins of course with Monday Night Raw. Chris Masters is in the ring awaiting the arrival of the US champion Kofi Kingston. Kofi makes his way to the ring, but he's attacked from behind by the number one contender. Despite the attack, Kofi continues on with his match with Masters, and it ends fairly quickly with a Trouble in Paradise. Backstage, Kofi speaks to the guest host of Raw this week in Jerry the King Lawler. Kofi requests a match at SummerSlam against The Miz and is happy to put the title on the line if it means he can get his hands on him. Lawler accepts Kofi's request and the match is booked for SummerSlam with the United States title on the line. Backstage, Mickie James says it doesn't matter who wins the triple threat tonight to determine the number one contender for her Divas title because nobody will take the title off her. She's worked too hard for too long to let the gold slip away. Maurice wins the triple threat match against Alicia Fox and Gail Kim to become number one contender for Mickey's women's title and will challenge for the title at SummerSlam. Next up, Cody Rhodes battles Shawn Michaels one-on-one. Late in the match, Cody pushes Shawn into the ref before Shawn knocks Cody out of the ring. Ted DiBiase gets into the ring and locks HBK in the $1 Million Dream. With the ref back on his feet, Cody lands a crossroads on HBK for the win. After the match, DiBiase passes Rhodes a chair and the duo look to punish Michaels further. But before Cody can attack Michaels, his D-Generation X tag team partner, Triple H, makes the save. In the main event, John Cena battles Batista in a steel cage match, where the winner will become the number one contender to the WWE Championship. Randy Orton has been told that if he interferes in this number one contenders match, then he will lose the WWE title and it will be vacated. Cena starts well with a Lou Thez press that busts Batista open, but the Animal replies with a suplex, a clothesline, and a running power slam. Cena counters a bear hug with some punches before showing his athleticism with a drop down, followed by a shoulder tackle. Batista attempts to escape the cage, but Cena drops him down with an electric chair drop, followed by a gut wrench suplex. Cena would connect with a 5-knuckle shuffle and would attempt to land an attitude adjustment, but Batista would reverse it and would plant Cena with a Batista bomb. To work around how Randy can not get involved in the match, Orton tasks Rhodes and DiBiase to climb the cage and take out Cena and Batista, resulting in no clear winner. Guest host Jerry Lawler announces that Cena and Batista will both face Randy Orton at SummerSlam for the title, in a triple threat match, and next week Batista and John Cena will take on Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase in a no-holds-barred tag team match. Week 2 starts on ECW with Christian speaking to General Manager Tiffany, who grants him an ECW title match at SummerSlam against William Regal. Newcomer on ECW, Sheamus would once again impress, defeating Paul Burchill after landing a brutal high cross for the win. In the main event, Christian and Tommy Dreamer would take on Shelton Benjamin and the ECW champion William Regal in a tag team match, which would be ended with a kill switch from Christian as the babyfaces go over on this night. On SmackDown, Eve Torres would await the arrival of the number one contender to the Women's Championship. Melina would almost reach the ring before the champion Michelle McCool would attack her from behind, to the point that the referee would call off the match. Next up, Dolph Ziggler gets another non-title match against Rey Mysterio, this time with Drew McIntyre by his side. but Mysterio once again deals with Ziggler, landing a 619 and a final splash. The Undertaker and Chris Jericho go one-on-one in the next match, but before it can start, the commentary table is joined by Edge. As the match goes on, Taker and Jericho trade fists until the Deadman clotheslines Jericho out of the ring. Taker has some choice words for Edge at ringside before continuing his attack on Jericho. Edge distracts Taker once again as Jericho attempts to tackle Taker from behind, but the Deadman evades the attack and Jericho goes crashing into Edge. Back in the ring, Undertaker lands a tombstone piledriver on Jericho to secure the victory. In the main event, World Heavyweight Champion CM Punk would take on John Morrison in a non-title match, but on his way to the ring, he would be ambushed by Jeff Hardy. Hardy gets some revenge on Punk for his attack last week during Hardy's match with Chris Jericho. Officials manage to pull Jeff away so that the match can begin. Punk deals with Morrison quickly, winning the match with a schoolboy pin. After the match, Jeff resurfaces on the entranceway, which causes CM Punk to head up the ramp for a fight. Hardy and Punk would start brawling on the stage as officials and referees would attempt to separate the two, as the show comes to an end. Week 3 on Raw kicks off with the number 1 contender to the Intercontinental Championship, The Miz, as he takes on MVP in singles competition. MVP would get some offense in on The Miz throughout the match, but ultimately, The Miz would defeat MVP with a reality check. The Miz would celebrate, but the Intercontinental Champion Kofi Kingston would attack The Miz, dropping The Miz onto a ladder with a scoop slam. Kofi would go on to say that the match he requested with The Miz at SummerSlam was not just a regular singles match, but is actually a ladder match. Backstage, D-Generation X would say they are ready to become the World Tag Team Champions at SummerSlam and are prepared for any legacy shenanigans. In the main event, John Cena would team with the Animal Batista in a tag team match as they take on the World Tag Team Champions Rhodes and DiBiase in a non-title match. During the match, Randy Orton would land an RKO on Cena at ringside, but he would soon be physically removed by DX. With the distraction at ringside, Rhodes would manage to roll Batista up and secure the victory for Legacy. ECW would start with a match between Zack Ryder and Yoshitatsu. Ryder would disrespect Tatsu by faking a handshake, but Tatsu would make him pay and would secure the victory. In the main event, William Regal would win his match against Trent Beretta, but would be confronted by the number 1 contender Christian, as champion and challenger have one final confrontation before their clash at SummerSlam. SmackDown would start with Melina taking on an ally of the women's champion, Michelle McCool, in Layla. Melina would defeat Layla convincingly, but as she begins her celebration, she would be confronted by the women's champion. No words are spoken, but it's clear that these two are ready to go to war at SummerSlam. Next up, R-Truth makes his entrance as he joins Intercontinental Champion Rey Mysterio for their tag team encounter, with Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler. Despite the efforts of Rey and Truth, McIntyre would ultimately put Truth away with a Future Shock DDT. McIntyre builds up momentum for his title clash at SummerSlam. Newcomer to SmackDown, Kazani awaits the arrival of The Undertaker, but he's ambushed by Edge on the way to the ring. But despite the attack, Undertaker destroys Kazani with a chokeslam and a tombstone piledriver. Taker looks towards SummerSlam as the day that he will make Edge rest in peace. In the final segment of SmackDown, General Manager Theodore Long hosts the contract signing between CM Punk and Jeff Hardy for the World Heavyweight Championship. After signing the contract, Punk would attempt a GTS, but Jeff would counter into a twist of fate, followed by an emphatic Swanton Bomb, as the final show before SummerSlam comes to an end. We arrive now at SummerSlam, and the biggest party of the summer kicks off with Drew McIntyre taking on the Intercontinental Champion, Rey Mysterio. Rey hands over the IC title to the referee and the match gets underway. Rey kicks the match off with a vintage wheelbarrow DDT, followed by a foot stomp and a neckbreaker. Rey lands a DDT followed by a dive and splash, but Drew soon gains some momentum. Rey almost regains control, but McIntyre evades a diving foot stomp and lands a brutal German suplex. McIntyre would land a decisive Future Shock, but Mysterio surprisingly kicks out at 2. At ringside, McIntyre continues his assault by sending Mysterio crashing into the ring post. McIntyre spends too much time taunting in the ring, which allows Mysterio to land a springboard Hurricane Rana. Rey then connects with a 619 followed by a splash from the top rope, as he wins the match and retains his Intercontinental Championship. Tonight is not McIntyre's night, as he falls short to Rey Mysterio. Next up, it's ECW Championship time as the challenger Christian battles William Regal for the title. Regal displays his technical wrestling ability as he dominates the first moments in the match. Christian struggles to gain any control in the match, but does momentarily with an execution-style DDT. Regal would plant Christian with a suplex before connecting with a Regal cutter. Christian would, however, reply with a reverse DDT late in the match before planting Regal with a kill switch as he makes the cover and becomes the new ECW champion. The next match is for the Women's Championship as Melina attempts to dethrone Michelle McCool in a no-holds-barred match. Melina would start well with a headlock takeover and a Russian leg sweep, followed by a barrage of punches. Melina would attempt a DDT, but Michelle would fight back before landing a neckbreaker. Michelle would take it to the extreme, grabbing a hockey stick from under the ring, before assaulting Melina's legs. Despite the damage done to her legs, Melina would show her athleticism with a drop down and a leapfrog, before connecting with a back body drop. Melina would take to the skies with a flying crossbody, but Michelle would soon go back to using a weapon, this time a kendo stick. Melina would grab a weapon of her own, but Michelle would block the attack before hitting a brutal uppercut, which sets up her opponent nicely for a faith breaker to win the match and retain her Women's Championship. The fourth match of the night is the finale of a very personal feud between the Rated R superstar Edge, accompanied by Chris Jericho, and the dead man himself, The Undertaker. Taker has had enough of Edge and aims to make him rest in peace tonight at SummerSlam. Taker starts the match with a running power slam before connecting with a series of DDTs. Taker would attempt to knock Edge off the apron, but the Rated R superstar would put up a knee before landing a brutal kick. Edge would land a splash in the corner before working over Taker's leg. Taker would land a two-handed chokeslam and a regular chokeslam, but after a ref bump, Chris Jericho would enter the ring and would attack The Undertaker, landing a codebreaker. Jericho is very happy with what he's done, but he would turn round to a not-so-pleasant chokeslam from Kane. After dealing with Jericho, Kane would walk straight into a spear from Edge. The chaos would allow Undertaker to end the match with a devastating tombstone piledriver as the ref counts to 3. Thanks to help from Kane, Taker gets revenge and ends his feud with the Rated R superstar. Moving on now to the United States Championship ladder match, contested between champion Kofi Kingston and the challenger, The Miz. Some back and forth offense sets the tone for a very competitive match between the two. Eventually, the ladders are brought into play as both men climb to the top to reach the title. The two competitors trade forearm strikes, but The Miz takes it one step further, bouncing Kofi's head off the ladder, before pushing him off as the champion falls very awkwardly onto a prone ladder. The Miz grabs the title and is declared the new United States champion. Next up, it's the Divas Championship as Mickie James defends against Maryse. Mickie starts well with a barrage of strikes, followed by a kick to the face and a standing dropkick. Maryse starts to gain some momentum with some elbow strikes before choking Mickie in the corner. At ringside, Maryse lands a wicked DDT, but Mickie regains control with a front dropkick to a seated Maryse, followed by a flapjack. Maryse lands a hip toss to Mickie and attempts a DDT, but Mickie replies with some strikes to the gut before connecting with a Mickie DT to just barely retain the Divas Championship. As we progress through to the final matches on the card, it's now time for Rhodes and DiBiase to defend the World Tag Team titles against D-Generation X. Rhodes and HBK trade some offense early in the match, until Rhodes tags in DiBiase and the two punish Michaels with a double team move. Michaels gets the hot tag to Triple H, but the game walks straight into a sidewalk slam from DiBiase, followed by a well-executed suplex. DiBiase continues his attack, but not for long as Triple H gains some momentum. Hunter tags out to HBK, who lands a right hand to DiBiase and a top rope moonsault to the now tagged in Cody Rhodes. Rhodes would reply with an Alabama slam before showing disrespect with some mat wrestling with a flair of showboating. Rhodes tags in DiBiase, but he walks straight into a gutbuster before Michaels tags in Triple H. Hunter connects with a signature running knee, followed by a back suplex. Michaels re-enters the ring and connects with a switch in music, which results in new World Tag Team Champions. The co-main event starts now as John Cena makes his way to the ring for the triple threat match for the WWE Championship. Batista enters next as the second challenger, before the champion himself, Randy Orton, makes his SummerSlam arrival. Some DDTs are exchanged early in the match by all three competitors, first Randy, then Batista, and finally from Cena. Batista attempts a power slam, but Cena reverses into yet another DDT. Orton lands a backbreaker on Cena before connecting with a clothesline to Batista. Orton lands an RKO on Batista, but Cena breaks the count before it can really begin. Cena lands a slam on Orton, but Batista gives one back for Cena, and then connects with a spear on the champion, and a neckbreaker to Cena. Orton catches Batista with a backbreaker, followed by a clothesline to Cena, but late in the match, Batista would land a Batista bomb to Orton as Cena lays incapacitated at ringside. Orton fails to kick out, and Batista becomes the new WWE champion. The Animal has climbed the mountain in WWE, defeating two of the biggest stars in company history. But now it's time, of course, for the main event, as the World Heavyweight Champion CM Punk makes his way out to the ring. Punk soaks in the boos from the crowd as we await the arrival of the most popular star in the WWE, the charismatic enigma himself, Jeff Hardy. Hardy arrives as the clear fan favourite. Punk catches Jeff straight away with a calf kick, followed by a knee to the face in the corner and a swift clothesline. Punk lays a barrage of clotheslines in the corner to Jeff before connecting with a backdrop. Punk lands another knee, but this time it's against the ropes, before following up with a huge GTS. Punk makes the cover, but the charismatic Enigma kicks out at 2. Punk lands an impressive Falcon Arrow to Hardy, before connecting with a springboard clothesline. Punk would hit Jeff with a swift kick against the ropes, before sending Jeff crashing to ringside. Punk would continue his momentum with a dive to the outside, as fans start to worry about Jeff's chances of winning. Hardy would reply with a reversal of Punk's kick, before landing his own to the champion. Hardy would send Punk crashing into the ring steps before landing a diving attack in the ring. Jeff would connect with the classic alley-oop facebuster, but Punk would reply with a brutal piledriver. Punk would send Jeff to the ropes with an Irish whip, but Hardy would reply with a tornado DDT, catching Punk off guard. Jeff would land a twist of fate before climbing to the top rope, before connecting with a swanton bomb. Jeff would get the 3 count as he becomes the World Heavyweight Champion. Hardy defeats CM Punk in the main event of SummerSlam and announces himself as the #1 star in the WWE. If you enjoyed this video, please of course leave a like and subscribe if you are new. If you want to see more videos like this on different years in WWE history, then comment the year that you would like to see in the comments section below. As always, I'll see you on the next one.